I don't know. I did something kind of weird today. I asked the computer, for some bad cruise tips for new cruisers. And I really wanted to see, it's kind of a thought experiment. I really wanted to see if we could learn something good about cruising by having super duper AI robot computers give us bad advice. I've got 12 bad cruise tips from AI for new cruisers. Let's talk about it. All right, let's kick off the bad cruise advice with number 1. Don't bother with shore excursions, just explore on your own. Now, that's certainly advice I had heard. Here's why they say that it's bad. While it's true that some ports are easy to explore independently, many cruise destinations are in areas where things like transportation, language barriers, or local customs can make venturing off on your own risky or stressful. Shore excursions can offer convenience, safety, and insider knowledge that help you maximize your time ashore, especially in places you're unfamiliar with. I guess in my cruise experience, I feel like it's a mix. Like, you're gonna go some places where the shore excursion is a must. I would definitely go on a shore excursion because it's hard to be familiar with a place, but then maybe a place that you've gone several times, like a Cozumel or a Nassau, or even over there, Puerto Vallarta, some place that you've been several times, then maybe it is a little easier to explore on your own. I used to be exclusively a shore excursion person. I felt all those things, safety and all of that kind of stuff, but as I've evolved in my cruising, I kind of like doing like a hop on, hop off sometimes. But the challenge is, if you're going to explore on your own, you need to do research in advance. If you're somebody who doesn't like to do research in advance, where I'm guilty of that sometimes, then a shore excursion often is a better thing. Bad robot cruise tip number 2, pack as much as you can. You'll need everything. This is an interesting debate. Should you pack as much as you can? Should you overpack? Should you underpack? The AI says why this is bad advice is because overpacking is a classic rookie mistake. Cruises have laundry services and most of your needs can be met on board. Trying to cram an excessive amount of clothes and unnecessary items into your suitcase will just add stress and leave you with limited space for souvenirs and other essentials. Stick to versatile, practical items and save yourself the hassle. Overpack, underpack. What's the correct cruise advice? Number 3 is a classic mistake that first-time cruisers make. The advice is it's all inclusive, so you don't need to worry about anything extra. I think, unfortunately, sometimes to new cruisers, this is how cruising is pitched. Why is this advice bad? Well, according to the AI, it's bad because cruise fares often include meals, basic entertainment. It doesn't include everything. Tips, specialty dining, excursions, premium drinks, and onboard activities often cost extra. Not budgeting for these add-ons can quickly lead to sticker shock and may make your trip feel less affordable than you thought. Yeah, that's absolutely true. I think the key thing here is to understand what you're getting with your cruise fare and then make a plan accordingly, because there's nothing worse than being on a cruise ship and you're like, oh, I don't have drinks included. And now every time you go to get a drink, you're like, oh, I just spent another $8 or I just spent another. You can really get obsessed. And I've seen people get really obsessed with every transaction they're making on the cruise ship, and it really can put a damper on your cruise vacation. So I do like what we're getting out of this advice is know what you're getting when you purchase your cruise. Bad cruise robot advice number 4, don't worry about seasickness. It rarely happens. I don't even think we have to dive into why this is bad. Certainly, there are people that will get seasick at sea from even the least amount of motion to sometimes the vast motion that happens on cruise ships. This is one of those things that I've seen people either love or hate cruising, first-time cruisers, and really because of how they're impacted by motion sickness. If you've ever been motion sick anywhere, car sick, if you've ever gotten queasy on an amusement park ride, make sure you take some sort of remedy for seasickness. And there's a lot you can do. You can go to your doctor. They can give you a patch for your ear. You can use over-the-counter medication like Bonine and Dramamine. There's a lot of things that you can do for motion sickness. There's some homeopathic pressure point type things on Amazon. There's a lot that you can do when it comes to motion sickness, but the first thing that you need to do is understand whether you're susceptible to it or not. And if you are even in the littlest amount, even in the least amount, you should make a plan for what you're gonna do if the motion of the ocean makes you feel not good. Here's some more bad advice given to us by a robot. Number 5, you'll have plenty of time to relax on deck every day. That's not true. Why this is bad advice? Deck chairs and prime sunbathing spots fill up so fast, especially on sea days. If you plan to spend all of your time lounging in the sun, make sure you get up early and grab a spot, or you may end up sitting in the shade or searching for a seat elsewhere. Additionally, cruise ships often have packed itineraries, so you'll likely be doing a lot of activities and excursions rather than just lying around. Okay, that kind of makes sense. They've alluded to a few things here. Let's start with laying by the pool. Sea days are the primary days for laying by the pool because you don't have the opportunity to get off the cruise ship. You don't have the opportunity to go explore a port. And so sea days is that scenario where a lot of times if you don't get out onto the pool deck in a early part of the day, you're going to struggle to find a seat. Now, unfortunately, there are some cruises that will go out there and try to save the deck chairs by putting their personal belongings on the deck chairs, which cruise lines are cracking down on that. But for the most part, the adage, the early bird gets the deck chair right next to the pool, is a true adage. But I do think the AI has it twisted here a little bit. If you want to relax on a cruise ship every day and not do anything, you're going to be able to do that. Now, I don't think that's the best thing because there's a lot of cool stuff to do on a cruise ship. But if your whole goal is to go and do nothing on a cruise, I'm pretty sure you can achieve that. So that's a little bit of a mixed bag of advice, I think, from you, AI. Now, before we get to this next piece of bad cruise robot advice, I do want to mention something in case anything weird happens to me. At the moment that I was typing this into ChatGPT, I got a text message, an email, a phone call, and then out of nowhere, my speakers came alive and there was a voice, a familiar voice, asking me if I was Sarah Connor. And that's what the text said. That's what the email said. That's what the speaker said. And when I picked up the phone, that's what the phone said. So seems weird to me. I don't know, but I just wanted to mention it just in case anything happened. Number 6, sketchy robot advice. The food is always free, so you don't need to worry about dining reservations. Yeah, those two things seem disconnected. Regardless of whether the food is free or not, there are some places on a cruise ship that you will need dining reservations. That's why it's bad advice. While many cruise ships offer free dining options, the best venues often require reservations or an additional fee. If you want to dine in specialty restaurants or secure a table at a popular venue, you need to plan ahead. Not making reservations can result in long waits or missing out on an experience entirely. So if there's something that you really want to do on the cruise ship, my advice, and I'm not a robot, my advice is to make those reservations pre-cruise if possible, or having a plan and making reservations at those venues as soon as you get on the cruise ship. Especially in this new era of cruising, where more and more cruise lines are developing packages that include things like multiple specialty dining or unlimited specialty dining. In a scenario where the specialty dining is unlimited to package holders, those reservations go quick. So you got to make a plan and you got to make your reservations. Now, this next piece of bad robot cruise advice, I don't know what information the AI in took to get to this output, but this is weird. Number 7, your room will be cleaned automatically, so you don't need to worry about it. Like that's a weird piece of advice anyways. Like, oh, your room's going to be automatically cleaned, which it will be automatically clean, but they're saying the reason why it's bad advice is while housekeeping generally does a great job maintaining your room, it's still your responsibility to keep it organized. Messy rooms can be frustrating for you and the cabin steward, plus it's a good idea to keep the room tidy for safety reasons, avoiding clutter in the case of an emergency. Now, I've seen some cluttered rooms, like there was a picture circulating on the internet a few months ago about a really untidy room. But I'm assuming that even in the untidiest of rooms, the room steward still goes in and tries to make the bed and clean the bathroom, that kind of thing. So I don't think you're going to negate the automatic cleaning of your room, but I think it's a fair point to say you need to keep your stuff organized in case of an emergency and not to be a big pain to the room steward. Yeah, this one's got me scratching my head. I'm not sure how the AI came up with that one, but a very interesting point indeed. Now, our next bad piece of robot cruise advice is you'll be fine using your phone for everything on board. Why it's bad: not all cruise ships have reliable Wi-Fi, and roaming charges can be sky high. Some cruise lines offer packages, but they often come with limitations or additional fees. It's better to plan ahead for Wi-Fi needs and consider bringing physical copies of important documents, itineraries, or maps in case you can't access them online. So this bad advice is kind of interesting because it kind of demonstrates how AI can miss the nuance of a thing. You know, they're saying just use your phone for just about everything. Then it goes into this conversation about, you know, Wi-Fi is not included. And while it's true that Wi-Fi is not included, those cruise lines that are putting things out to use on the cruise ship that require your phone, they're going to give you access to it. So you'll be able to use the ship's Wi-Fi even if you don't purchase a Wi-Fi package. It's going to have limited, you know, reach. You're only going to be able to do those things that the cruise lines have set up for their onboard Wi-Fi. For the most part, on most cruise lines today, you can use your phone to keep up with activities, to book reservations, to do a lot of stuff on the cruise ship. So it's a weird piece of advice there, but certainly a good call out there for the newbies. Wi-Fi is not included. If you try to use your mobile cellular connectivity, you're going to get hit with roaming charges. And it is a good idea to bring backup paper copies of things like your boarding pass, your insurance policy, your itineraries, things that you may need in a pinch when you cannot get connected. Now, interestingly, the prompt that I gave ChatGTP was pretty simple. I didn't say give me 12 items. I just said give me bad cruise advice for new cruisers. And so number 9 on the list seems very reminiscent to a previous item on the list. But here's some bad cruise advice. Take a big suitcase. You'll need a lot of options for every event. And number 2 was pack as much as you want. So it does seem like this is the same bad piece of advice. They say why it's bad. Most cruise lines have a more relaxed dress code, especially during the day. Unless you're going on an ultra luxury cruise, you don't need to pack your entire wardrobe. Focus on versatile pieces that work for multiple occasions and consider the fact that your cabin may be small, so space is limited. Again, it's like twice in the same list. You have a call out to not overpacking. And some good points are made here in the explanation. A lot of cruise lines are doing away with formal dressing requirements, so you don't necessarily have to have a gown or tuxedo, and so maybe you don't need to bring as much stuff. But it's kind of interesting that all the tips that would be somewhat doubled up, overpacking is the first one to be doubled up. Now, coming in at the 10th spot for bad robot cruise advice, it's okay to ignore your embarkation time. Just show up whenever. And that's going to be true for cruise day embarkation and port day embarkation, like returning back to the ship on time. Why it's bad advice? You almost don't even need a section on that. There's times for a reason. The cruise ship will leave you. That's why it's bad advice. If you don't show up on time for embarkation day, and if you don't show up on time when the cruise ship is in port, they will leave you. But here's the official why it's bad. Embarkation times are scheduled for a reason. Arriving late can cause delays in getting you checked in and on board. It also means you could miss out on important onboard events like the muster drill or a relaxed lunch on the first day. It's always better to arrive early and follow the time frames given. I've definitely heard a lot of bad cruise advice, but I've never heard anybody say, don't pay attention to the time. So that's kind of funny that it shows up in the AI generated list. Now, number 11 on the list kind of cuts deep because it says, don't worry about watching CruiseTube before you go on your cruise. Don't even prepare it all, just wing it. And well, that hurts my feelings because look, you got to watch CruiseTube if you want to know what's going on in cruising. That's not even what number 11 is. I'm just trying to find a nice way to invite you to subscribe. If you want to stay up to date with everything going on in cruising, please consider subscribing with the notification bell on. That way you don't miss out on any of these episodes. You get the cruise tips, you get the cruise news, you get the vlogs. You get to be a part of a cruising community. We'd love to have you here at La Lita Loca. Be a part of the Loca fam today. Hit the subscribe button, notification bell, and yeah, everything will be right in the world. Number 11, for real, says you can just grab a taxi at the port. No need to book in advance. Why is this bad advice? Not all ports have reliable taxi services, and the lines can be long, especially if a large number of ships are docked in the same area. It's usually a safer bet to pre-book excursions and transportation, especially popular tourist spots where demand is high. Plus, pre-arranging transport can save you from being overcharged by an unregulated local service. I think at the heart, all of that's pretty much right. As much as you can pre-arrange, if you know what you're going to do in a cruise port, pre-arrange it so you get your prices locked in, so you're not just out there at a cab stand somewhere trying to negotiate a price. Fortunately, in most of these cruise ports, there are published prices for their cab, and certainly before you actually get into a cab to take a ride, you should negotiate that price so you know exactly what you're paying. Worst case scenario, and it's happened to me, I've done this before, I didn't do my due diligence. I just got in a cab. I thought it was going to be one amount, and then when I got there, it was a lot more because I didn't work it out in advance. Learn from my mistakes when it comes to cabs and transportation. Book it in advance if you can, and if you're right there in the moment trying to get something done, try to get your prices established so you're not taken advantage of. And well, I've got one more bad piece of robot cruise advice for you. Thank you guys for checking out this video today. Please hit the like button if you've enjoyed it. And this last one, I don't even have to explain it to you why it's bad. You should know it's bad. Don't bother with travel insurance. It's just an extra cost. If anybody tells you that on land, don't get travel insurance. If any of your friends tell you that, if you hear that anywhere, that is the worst travel advice. Always have some sort of travel insurance in case you get stranded in a foreign country. You can afford a medevac in case you get injured and you need medical. You can get medical. Make sure you know what you're getting when it comes to insurance. Some of those insurance you have to pay in advance and file a claim, but there are some insurances out there that will pay in the moment. Cruise line insurance, you got to investigate all of it. I can't even tell you what's the best for you because we all live in these different circumstances. But I can tell you this, nothing is a problem until it's a problem. And these problems are expensive. If you have to get medevaced off a ship or out of a foreign country, we're talking tens of thousands of dollars. If somebody's telling you to skip paying $200, $300 for insurance, are they gonna pay your $50,000 helicopter bill? I don't think so. That horrible advice. If you're telling yourself you don't need travel insurance, if somebody's telling you you don't need travel insurance, horrible advice. And you don't have to be a robot to know that. Look, I asked a robot cruise questions. I found it kind of interesting, the advice that we got. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. I've got more advice about cruising in this video. Make sure you check it out next. This is Tony for La Lido Loca. And until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Bye.